All right, so let's get started. First things first is to find the files that you downloaded from the course webpage. Those files should be the boat itself in Houdini's native format here, bgo.sc, and the ocean tank start file, which is here, and I already have loaded up. It doesn't really matter where the file is at this point. We're going to say new project and come up with a new project where all these files will be saved. I'm going to call it Fluids 3 Oceans. Yeah, we'll keep the capital C, that's fun. And then we'll save the file now into that. So click Job, which is now in that project area. And now I'm just going to call it Oceans 3 dot liquids dot boat dot versions here. Like so. So we're going to start from this. Now, we don't usually start from a file in the other lessons, and I wanted to do it for two reasons. One is that the camera, depending on how the camera's angled, we're going to see either a lot less ocean, or we're going to see a lot more ocean, or we might see too much ocean. Too much ocean isn't actually an issue, except that I'm trying to target, the certain things I want to cover in this lesson, and I don't want you to get bogged down by having a drastically different camera where the lighting looks drastically different and the amount of ocean you see is drastically different and so on. I just figured this lesson's going to be, I'm not going to say hard, but I'll say it will be, is it complicated enough without, having even more factors to worry about. Along those lines, I also have a path here that I've chosen for us for the boat to go down. Not going to save you too much time, but it will just make sure that what we're seeing, what you're seeing versus what I'm seeing, it will be pretty similar. Now, other things we can do here before we get started is make this wider. I want to split these in half. I do this in a lot of lessons where we split these and then we link them by clicking on the tack, going to 1 and 1, which means they're both on team 1 now. 2 and 2, they're both on team 2. And this one we're just going to keep as it is, which means that whatever we clicked on last will show up here. The idea being that I can look at the parameters of one node in this one and look at the parameters of another node in this one. So let's save that layout. Go to save current desktop as. We'll call it something like do the splits, like so. It will refresh everything for some reason. But all you can do if you want is click them, bring them back. Sometimes the viewport color might change. If you want to go back to the dark one, you can go to, I press D in here in the viewport to bring this up, choose dark, and then there you go. I have mine is saved as default, so that's why mine still is, but yours may not. And some other bits of setup we might want to do here is drop down a null, and this is going to be our control panel. This is just going to have some centralized settings that will be referenced by many other nodes, and we can just change a lot of nodes at once by just clicking on this one. You'll see what I mean in a moment. I like to make it a circle. I like to make it a black circle. And then click on the gear, go to Edit Parameter Interface, and now we can modify the node, or at least add things to it. So let's add another folder here. The folders are these tabs on the top. So this one will be called Controls. And inside of it, put three integer parameters inside of it, like so, and one float parameter. These numbers will cover, the first three integer ones will be version numbers. So the simulation geometry cache versions, the render caches, the render images rather, and then the composited images. So along those lines, I'm going to put svers for simvers, and we're going to reference these. Here's rvers. We're going to reference these in the various nodes around Houdini when we're naming files that are getting written and read to and from disk. So compvers here. And this will be, you'll recall from our other lessons, there's the particle separation. I'll just put psep here. Particle separation. This is one of the main parameters in fluid sims where that specifies how far apart particles are. The less distance there is, the more particles there are to fill that same volume. And as such, you have a higher res sim. So we'll change this to make our sim higher resolution later. We're going to start at 0.2 we're going to go to 0.1, and then we'll probably end around 0.05. For now, we're going to start at just at 0.2. And there you go.